Good evening, guys. It is Sunday. Getting ready to start out another work week, unfortunately, but it's 1 week closer to the end of 2020. Thank God for that. But we got some pretty exciting stuff coming out soon. So let me turn my volume down real quick. There we go. So I do have an exciting announcement to make. This morning, I finished the final run through of my book, and it is at the editor. So that's pretty exciting. We'll be talking about that later this week. I think I'll be on Saturday with Brian K. Morris. But enough about me. Tonight, I got a special guest, Armando Ramirez, and we're going to check out some of his super sweet horror art. So without further ado, I would like to bring out Armando.
Hey, what's up, Russ?
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. This was kind of my main intention whenever I started Art Exposure. And I know you were one of the early artists that got on with that when I first started doing it a few years ago. And, this is kind of what I wanted to do back then. And now we're at that point that everybody is like, hey, I need to go live. So, I'm using it as a way to try to get you guys out there and chat with you guys because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun getting to chat with you guys, learn about you, and learn the face behind the name. I mean, how many people go out there and buy a cover and like, I really like this guy's art, and you can't really say, well, I've talked to that guy. So, I mean, it's really cool. It's really awesome to get to meet and talk to you guys. And for you guys to say, heck yeah, I'll be on your show. Let's talk. So I'm excited to have you on tonight. Your art's fantastic.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. Yeah, this has definitely been a turning point with everything happening for me to be more I communicative with everybody because before in person in cons, like at cons and in person, I'm very talkative and sociable, but like I'm terrible at social media as far as like commenting on stuff and saying like, oh great, this is good, this book looks awesome and stuff. So this has definitely been an opportunity to get on and talk to people and like you say, get to know them and stuff. So yeah, thanks to you guys like you and some other people who have been doing this kind of stuff is awesome. So very cool.
So you've had a few books that you've done covers for on Kickstarter. Um, I don't think a lot of people have heard of the books. I know I hadn't. This was about whenever I first had met you online and you were doing a live signing. And I was like, I got on there to check it out, and now I can't find it again. I loaded so many pictures on
Oh,
here.
that's
Here we go. Night is falling. Your artwork is spectacular. This cover is awesome.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. So this was fun to do. This was and I did the inks on this. I have a colorist guy that I do. So Art by Galen, if you go check him out, he does a lot of my colors. But the inks on this I did, and this was really fun, man. That was really fun to do. It was very cool. It's a cool story. The people that are doing it, I think they're based out of like New England or something, and they're not really into comics. They just love horror stuff, and they wanted to put out a really cool story. And I guess this was an avenue to do that. And so they, they got with the people that did this exclusive, and they contacted me and were like, "Hey, do you want to do this cover?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And whip something up. It was kind of not last minute, but of course, I had other stuff going on, so it was very like I had to kind of like I was in a crunch time with it, so I did it. And the original cover, which has a lot more to it, I had to edit it down because it's kind of like a spoiler for, the second issue that they have, which they've been kind of promoting. So you can follow them at Night is Falling on Instagram and check out their story. It's really neat. So, um, but yeah, so it was a fun project. And they were happy with it. I was happy with it. They said they want to work with me in the future, so that I'm down. The guy Barry Dodd that's in control of the whole project is really cool, real easy to work with. So maybe I'll do some more work for him in future issues. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
And then you had another one that you had also done that was Vampire State Building.
yeah. So this one was kind of a big thing for me. This was actually put out by a publisher. So Ablaze Comics did this, and it's with Charlie Adler and I always forget the writer's name. Renault Patrick. interesting story, but I was very fortunate to do a cover for it along with some other great people. Um, that did some. Inyuk Lee did a cover. Of course, Charlie Adler did a lot of covers. Alan Qua, Dyke Ruan did colors. So those guys are like they're light years ahead of me. But I was very fortunate to have been thrown in the ring, and the story's great. The trade's out, and you can get that. So that was fun to work on too. So
we got a few people in here. Dan said,
yeah.
hey, and he said, those are amazing.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
And Lewis said hello.
Hey, what's up, Lewis? Oh, I can see now. I got my phone on too. Sorry. I'll try to remember to look down on the thing and say, hey guys, how's it going? But yeah, so that was a fun one to work on. And Ablaze, man, they've been killing it. They're putting out. I've been trying to get in contact with them to submit work. They have like some Conan stories out that I really want to try to get involved with, that are from like the Robert E. Howard, his actual novels, which I'm that's what I grew up with is Robert E. Howard Conan. So I definitely like to be involved with that. But they're just putting out a lot of amazing stuff. So they're getting pretty big right now.
Now, is that like, I guess that's your main forte of what you do? I see a lot of the art that you put out is all, mainly horror stuff.
It's funny, man. Like it's crazy because that's most of the jobs that I get, and that's not really like I don't get me wrong. I love horror stuff, but I like kind of like classic horror, like classic like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and the classic Dracula and stuff like that. So I'm not really into like newer like vampires and zombies and stuff, but I always get those kind of gigs because I guess my artwork fits it. But the book that I'm working on now with, if you guys, the Waco Plus Comics, you can follow us over there. Where me, Danny Flores, and Joey Gonzalez are putting out a whole universe, and it's going to be something completely different than I've ever done before. So I think it's going to be pretty neat. It's going to shock people and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't know. I get those kind of jobs, and I love doing it. I love doing that kind of work. But I think a lot of my style kind of fits that aesthetic, which is cool because they're cool books, and I really like this story. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really liked it a lot. So.
Yeah, and that's not all you do. I mean, you've done several other pieces, like you've done Samus.
Yeah.
You've done, I mean, I guess this kind of falls into the horror genre, but, of course,
oh yeah,
Vampirella.
That was supposed to be printed. That was supposed to be published with Dynamite. I don't know what happened. So they had like this contest or whatever, and fan art contest, and they chose a winner to be published, and he got published, and then they messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to be published, by like, I said, yeah, sure. But I think COVID hit and they had some other stuff issues. So I don't know if it's ever going to get used, but I sent it to him. So maybe one day you'll see it on something. So.
Well, and that's been the case for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome, Josh. Hey, Robert, how are you doing? So, anonymous troublemakers unite. So, yeah, I mean, that's been a lot of the problem. There's been so many indie artists, creators that have submitted work for places like Dynamite and Marvel, and you hear them when they're talking online, they'll be drawn, and they'll be like, well, I got this cover, David Harrigan, for example, had a cover for Vampirella. And he's like, I did a cover for Vampirella. It was one of the things on my bucket list because Vampirella is, one of my huge main collections. So, I always pick up on that stuff. And he's like, I got a Vampirella coming out. I don't know when, because with COVID, this issue was supposed to release, but I don't know when it's coming out. And then like all of a sudden one day he's like, oh, hey, by the way, my Vampirella is finally coming out. You can get it here. And I'm like, ah. So, I mean, it definitely sucks because you guys put all the work into that and a lot of money and a lot of resources trying to get your foot in the door. And then down the road, you're like, okay, this art was supposed to be used. Is it getting used? Is it not getting used? What happened to it?
Yeah, but I feel like that's part of it, man. Like I got right before all this happened, I got signed up on a book to do actual interiors for a book with Antarctic Press, and they had a tight deadline because the artist they were originally going to use dropped out. I mean, I had to do it was like 30 something pages. No, like probably 40 something pages within like a month. Like, and I have a regular job too. So it's like, I have to like, I didn't get any sleep for like 2 weeks, and I was busting out these pages, and then it didn't work out because I felt like it wasn't like, I felt like I wasn't going to get paid, or it wasn't going to be beneficial to me. And it wasn't like I might've gotten paid, but I just wasn't getting the impression that this was a solid project, you know? And they had already released, you know, 2 issues before, but this one was just kind of going, you know, on my radar of me doing this for a while. Like, this is not working, you know? And so I just had, you know, I did those pages, and I have them in my portfolio, but you know, not going to get paid, not going to get published, and that's fine. But I feel like that, you know, that's part of it. There will be times where you submit and, you know, oh yeah, we're going to publish this. And then something comes up, the book gets canceled, the writer gets fired, you know, something's going to happen. And the way you have to look at that is like, you got stuff to sell now, and you got stuff in your portfolio to be like, look, you know, I can do this. I can submit. I can do it. Boom. You know, so.
Yeah, it just sucks from the fan standpoint though, because when we see and it's like, hey, you know, you hear your favorite artist say, I'm working on a Vampirella cover. I'm a Vampirella collector. And then it's like, hey guys, you know, this is going to get used soon. Look for it. I'll let you know ahead of time when it's coming out. And then like months go by and you're like, hey, did your Vampirella ever come out? And then they're like, oh yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. And so, I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, just like your piece here, I mean, it's sad to hear, you know, you did this awesome piece and you're like, oh yeah, it's going to be in a book. And then, you know, your fans are like, hey, what happened to this book? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It may or may not eventually seep out there somewhere.
Yeah, that's another side of it too. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like you said, you can, you know, it gives you something to sell. You can make prints of it. You can show it off in your portfolio. But, you know, for people like me, it sucks because it's like, I want to add that to my collection because with following you and every time you do a piece like that I you know, I like Vampirella, I want it in my collection. And it's like, now I'm like, oh, I'll never see that book.
Oh yeah. And it definitely sucks on, you know, the artist part too, because, you know, when you're doing something and you get hired for a project, you know, your mind starts, those wheels, oh man, I'm gonna get to be at cons and do these signings, and you know, people are gonna be like wanting to slab my book and like, you know, hey, can you know, and then it doesn't happen, and you're kind of like, you know, well, but you just gotta kind of keep rolling and keep doing it, you know.
So and then some of the other art you've done too. So you did this piece here.
Yeah, so these are just kind of like some commissions and stuff. Older
and
stuff.
Then here's the colored version of Samus that I shot up earlier.
Yeah. And so the Galen, I never know how to say his last name. Dude, he's local. We're like best friends. I don't know how to say his last name. It's like Eichelfield or something, but he's super talented. He has his own book right here. Baku. I'm supposed to do some kind of cover for it later. He's working on issue 3, but this is a really cool book too. And so he's local, which is really good to work with. But
you want to show that up there again?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. If you give me a second, I can make it full screen so everybody can see it a little better.
Yeah. So
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So and it's a good concept. It's about a girl who all of her adventures happens in her dreams, which is really neat. And so but yeah, it's a really good story, and he's a talented dude, and he's local. And so, you know, I don't have the means to do, or probably the skill set to do digital coloring. And so I was like, hey man, you help me out with these covers. And so now he's kind of like my go-to guy to color pieces or whatever and stuff. So pretty cool.
What's going on, Pops? Sorry, I was switching over to the comments. Oh. Unfortunately, everything's on a different menu here. So yeah, and some of the stuff you do, I mean, you do color like a lot of these black and white horror pieces. And you incorporate the red in it. And it always blows my mind to see you when you do these pieces live, because it's like CB Zane. You guys get out that big, fat Sharpie marker. I mean, the big, wide chisel tip. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, one wrong move and it's over. One wrong move and it's over.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's really cool to see you do those pieces because, you know, just like the Vampirella and, you know, some of these other pieces, when you when you do these horror pieces and you break out that fat marker and it shows, that you are comfortable doing it and you're comfortable with your art enough that you can use something so drastic like that. And if you do make a small mistake, that you're able to be like, I can cover that up.
Oh yeah. And it took me a while to get to that point, man, because I mean, I would finish a piece, I would finish like pencils on something, and I would be like, oh my God, like now I don't want to touch it, So now if you look at my pencils, they're very loose and like, you're like, what's this dude doing? He's just scribbling on a page. Sometimes I feel like when I'm at conventions and I'm doing, I'm starting a thing, people are like, oh my God, I paid for this. Like what? They're like in their head, like, what's he doing? Like it's just a bunch of scribble. But it's because like I know that once I drop ink, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a lot more, structured and stuff. But before then, I was, I had tight pencils, and I was like, oh, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to ink it. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And then when I first messed up and was like, okay, the world didn't end. I can fix it or I can start over. Like it's cool, So from then, my confidence kind of grew with like my inks and my colors and stuff like that. So. But yeah, that's a lot. I feel like a lot, and I feel that a lot of artists, they're like, I don't want to touch it, and I get it. So,
and here's another piece of yours that's insane. Like I love how it's stretched out. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, that was I submitted to that and some other pieces I submitted to the DC fandom thing. So we'll see what they come up with.
And so here's some more of your black and white work. And the detail in these is
yeah. So I always I on this piece I'll talk a little bit about it, but so my main thing, like a lot of different artists, they have like a style and stuff, and a lot of people think like, oh, I just I use a lot of black and throw. But a lot of my work is I use like a light source, right? My main focus is one light source, and then I play everything on that. So if you look at that picture, if you pull it up, you can see like my light source is coming a lot from Ghost Rider's head because I mean that's like light, that's like fire.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. His head's ablaze. They don't call him Johnny Blaze for nothing,
Yeah, exactly. So all that back part of Hulk is going to be darker than the front part, and that was a commission that a guy got from me. He buys a lot from me and stuff, so that was pretty neat. But yeah, I mostly work in black and white. I don't have the funds for all these colors, and I'd like to. Also, the time. The time is between me, my wife's shop, and the kids. Well, right now they're dealing with COVID and stuff, but like the kids and my other job, like it's insane for me to try to sit down and color a whole piece. So, but
well, and like Eve said, she said your work's badass, and she said
thanks.
I am enamored with his work.
Oh, thanks.
And,
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I like the black and white pieces. I don't know how many times I've had commission work done, and I pay. I'm like, all right, this is what I want. I want it in color. Go ahead and send it in for grading because I like. I know here we are. We're gonna get into the whole huge debate about not really, but other people might. But I like getting my work graded. If I ever have a commission piece done that I say, hey, I want you to work on this cover, I get it graded, not because I want to prove that Armando did my piece or Eve did a piece or whoever did a piece. I like to protect the art. So having that encapsulated, I can make sure it doesn't get moisture in it. Because a lot of times when you get the color pieces, they draw moisture and then the color bleeds. So over time, it degrades and it looks terrible. So I like to get them slabbed. So I had a few pieces that I've had done. And I'm like, all right, I want it like this and I want it colored. Well, I get the preliminary sketches and I'm like, man, that looks freaking awesome. And then they ink it and I'm like, man, I love it. And then they color it and I'm like, I really liked it before it had color.
Yeah.
And that is honest to God, the truth. And so now after a little bit of time of having that happen to me, I always like to sit and look at it first before I'm like, all right, I want you to do this piece. I want you to ink it. But we'll wait on color until I decide whether I want it colored or not.
Oh, yeah.
So now I've become a little bit picky about how I get my art done because I love the pieces like that. Like, let's go back to that Ghost Rider piece. I mean, the black and white in this, it pops. There's so much more detail. If you added color to that, I think it would ruin the piece. I really do. And, that just shows your ink work and the line work, how phenomenal of a job that you can do. It really makes everything pop. And I'm not saying anything bad about colored pieces. I like them both the same, but sometimes it's just not necessary.
Oh, I definitely I do that same way now with people who I've been following since I was a kid. They'll post on now that social media you can see the work stages. So I'll be watching like Arthur Adams or like Ron Garney, people that I grew up reading. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be insane cover. And somebody drops color on it, and I'm like, you know. So I have a lot of the comics that I get. I get the black and white variants or whatever comes in. But yeah, I totally get that, man. I get that a lot. A lot of people tend to like my black and white, but what's been popular is the single color stuff. I just did like a sale in a commission group, and everybody ate it up. So I was kind of doing that. So I love when Armando sticks to his pattern ink style. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like to feel my stuff is very unique. I think that's important as an artist to try to break the mold. All of my favorite artists growing up were revolutionary. They kind of changed the way comics were made, and so that's kind of my mindset going into comics. Is I want to be my own type of illustrator. You know what I mean? I want, when people think of me, I want them to be like, we want something different. The guy to go to that's going to do something that's not expected or that's different. So for sure. But that doesn't mean that I'm not influenced. I'm still influenced, but
Well, that's the thing about your work too. Like, so when you say you like doing the old style horror pieces, it really shows in your work, because the newer horror stuff really isn't that scary. Some of it is, but a lot of it's just over the top, and it's funny. But your horror pieces are legit. Some of them are. Like your Pennywise here. That's freaking creepy as all get out. And you see a lot of pieces where the artist will do more of like a reserved version of it, but you go all the way and you do the old style. This is creepy, this is scary, and this is what it's meant to be. And I really like that. And it shows through your work that that's what you like, is the old horror.
And that's kind of like how I approach things, because like, for instance, that Pennywise, right? Like, I feel like when people commission that stuff, they're thinking in their head like, oh, I want it like the movie, or like the classic movie. I'm doing a classic Pennywise commission. I've got it on deck right now. And my thing is like, I'm not scared of Tim Curry. Like, I don't want to be looking at Tim Curry. That's not what's going to make it creepy. It's like you said, what makes it creepy is like, you make it your own. What would scare me, or what would scare somebody? Something that, is going to scare them. I don't want them to look like the actor, because then it's going to be reference to the actor or whatever, And that's not, maybe some people are scared of the actor. I'm not scared of the actors. The movies itself are scary to watch, but if I just look at an image, I'm like, oh, I know that. That's from that movie or whatever. So, but yeah, that's the kind of the approach, like you said, that's the approach that I do is when I'm tackling a piece, I'll do something like that. This is a fun one. This is kind of like a preview. This I'm planning on doing a bunch of t-shirt designs, just to have. I'm setting up a site where you can just go and order what you want. It's just, you can put on whatever color and what kind of t-shirt or a mug or whatever. I'm not even worried about making profits off it, but I want people to have, stuff they can wear. So that was kind of one of them that's going to be a design on there. So.
Well, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like a design your own thing. Do you want color? Do you not want color? What do you want me to slap it on?
You want it on a pink shirt? You can have a Frankenberry. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever you want to do. So, but yeah, that's just a fun thing. I'm always trying to, not different avenues to make money or to be, but different avenues to keep my juices flowing, to keep my, my mind going. What about that loggerhead? Oh, yeah, I did that somewhere. I don't know where I put it. I was late. I was like, man, I need to go to bed. And I was like, I gotta doodle something before I go to bed. So if you guys, Brian Silverback's his character Loggerhead, I did that quick on a sketch pad just to get something out before I went to bed. But yeah, so go check out his book. He's got it everywhere now. Dude's killing it, man. So
Yeah, I got my copies like a week or two ago. I haven't been able to dig into them yet, but I ordered them from my comic shop and got them shipped to me. So I'm pretty excited. I did get to read the Ash Can. I ordered a couple of Ash Cans from him, and when I managed to get up to the city, I dropped a couple of them off at the comic book stores, hoping to get him,
yeah,
a few orders. I don't know if they did order or if anybody requested it or not, but I tried to do my part. But the Loggerhead series is looking pretty phenomenal, and I'm excited to see what else he has to come with it.
for sure.
I did see he got some nice slabs back the other day. He did an unboxing for some of them.
Oh, cool. Right on.
And he says, people loved your take, man. I hope something pops off for you.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I'm getting work, and right now I'm working on with my guys here in our local town. We just kind of got kind of tired of rejection, I was submitting to like Image and I submitted to Valiant and some other places, and my buddy Danny, he actually got a tryout with Marvel, and why they did not get him a gig, I don't know. But so we just kind of all got tired and fed up of it. You know what? We've been sitting on this idea for a while. We have a local guy, he's a writer here. We're like, let's do it, man. So the three of us and another guy that's going to be our letterer, Hector Negrete. He does a lot of Antarctic Press stuff. You can check him out. He's pretty awesome, dude. We're creating this whole universe, man. I mean, where's the problem? Like, dude, my book, I'm doing a book. Danny's doing a book. Like, I'm doing 2 books. Danny's doing like 3 books. And it's all in one universe, and we've got more stuff with it. My stuff's kind of been delayed, but we've got some of the introduction to it that's going to set up this whole universe. And he's already got like pages knocked out. He's just not very social media present. I keep telling him, dude, post your stuff, dude. Like, people are gonna eat it up, but it's really exciting. It looks great. He's a fantastic artist and storyteller visually, and I'm excited to get back into sequentials because lately, with COVID, I've been trying to pay bills and get money and do little commissions and things. But my heart is storytelling and sequentials and stuff like that. So getting back and diving into that is going to be fantastic.
So are you able to talk about the name of the book yet, or is it something that you?
So what I'm doing, so it's my book that I'm doing is called Lawbringer, and it's kind of like a sci-fi kind of book. Like, it's influenced by a lot of different things, by some anime, by some classic '80s cartoons, and the whole universe is really fantastic. And we got some other stuff coming in. I won't talk too much about it because we're still working on like copyright and stuff like that right now. But yeah, it's gonna be future classic, man. Like, there's something in it for everybody. Like, I know people say that, but like, I mean, our books are gonna jump from like one realm to another to like this part of the universe to this part, and it's all connected. The writer, Joey, he's a young kid. This dude's like, I mean, he's still learning as we all are. But I mean, he's fantastic. The stuff he comes up with. So, and Danny, of course, has a background in design, and both me and him have been reading comics since we were kids. So, I mean, we're just engulfed in comics. So we kind of know how we're on the same page as far as stories, how stories should flow, and things like that. So, it's gonna be.
And that, I understand you don't want to talk about it. I just was wondering, kind of interested in what the name would be so that anybody watching this, later on when they, happen to walk through their LCS or they are watching an online auction, they hear that word Lawbringer, they'll be like, oh, wait a minute. I think I heard that sometime. Oh, I need to check this out. So,
yeah. So the big thing that we're focused on is we want to get it out there because we feel that this has the potential to go the distance as far as like Netflix shows and all kinds of stuff, and not just like I mean, we're gonna do a Kickstarter and everything, but we mostly whatever we have to do to get it funded, it'll get published, like, and it'll be in available to people. So I have a pretty good social media presence, not the greatest, but I'm pretty interactive to where, I'll be able to like, hey, this is what I'll post all his pages, my pages. This is the colors, this is coloring, this is the page. Like, I'm gonna push it, and I think people will know about it. Our local comic shop is very big on they have a good storefront and a good following to where we'll be able to set up there and promote it and stuff like that. So it's pretty legit, man. Everybody will know about it. But like you said, I appreciate that. Thank you for giving us that shout out and stuff, and people will be able to get their hands on it.
Yeah, no problem. And when the time comes, definitely, when you got the Kickstarter, I'll still be doing this. I don't plan on stopping. This has been what I've been building up for 2 years. So, I want to tell anybody out there that has a current crowdfunding project, if you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have a good social media presence, that's what we do these shows for. I want to help, put your name out there. I mean, I'm working on my own project now, and it helps me as well because we intertwine. Your friends will watch you, and my friends will watch me,
Oh, yeah.
and so we get that cross exposure, and that's what it's all about. The indie community shines strong through us sharing groups together. And that's what it's all about. So I encourage anybody out there, if you have a Kickstarter, you have an Indiegogo, you have any type of crowdfunding, hit us up. You've got me, you've got Amanda Gilliam Presents, you've got Demon Phil with Demon Nation. We're all out here. So, definitely when it comes time and that Kickstarter gets going, hit us up. We'll get you on a show. We'll broadcast you out there, and we'll share and get that out there.
For sure. Much appreciated, man. Much appreciated.
Hold on. Lewis is asking a question. Let's see. Lewis says, Armando, are you available for any commission? Codex Entertainment LLC is interested. So if you don't know who Lewis is the owner of Codex Entertainment LLC. He does Ace and Starlet and Lily the Demoness. So his most recent Kickstarter was Lily the Demoness Chapter 4.
Oh, okay, cool. Right on, man. Yeah, I mean, as far as like if it's published work or anything that's like, going to be, used for, I'm down. I'm open for commissions all the time. As far as like personal stuff, I'll be closing it. Be closing my personal commissions at the end of this month just because I need to catch up on some larger commissions and start this page work that I'm working on. So, but yeah, if it's for like published work or your book or something, any pinup kind of stuff that's going to go in there or whatever. Yeah. I'm definitely open for commissions. So you can just DM me with, find out my rates or, and right now I'm pretty easy to work with just because of COVID stuff. I'm not really going to be intense about, so I'll accept counter offers, but, but yeah, I'm pretty open. I'd like to think I'm easy to work with. I'm not very, my biggest thing is just creating and getting out there, and being leaving my imprint in comics, not necessarily being, this big, kind of iconic person, but just being, that Mondo wrote, Armando Ramirez wrote that book. He's the guy that used to draw that, or, something like that. That's my main goal. So right now I'm pretty easy working with people and trying to get projects done and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free.
And Eve, even that was her first comic cover too, was for Lily the Demoness. Here's her cover here.
Cool. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. She did a great job on that one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that would be awesome. I would definitely love to see you on Lily the Demoness Chapter 5. I'm sure that's what he has in mind.
Yeah, for sure. See, my stuff just attracts horror stuff, dude. If you were to sit me down and be like, draw your favorite thing, I would probably draw somebody goofy, like I don't know, like some goofy cartoon from Saturday mornings or something. But people are always like, draw, and I love it, man. I'll draw anything for the most part. If it's short of somebody's animal or their kid or whatever, but. Man, yeah, dude, I get, do you draw this? You draw that? And yeah, dude, I'll do it. Like, so
here's another awesome piece.
Yeah, dude, and this is a great thing to talk about too. A lot of people ask, you get a lot of art as an artist. You get questions like, "What inspires you?" And my thing is like everything, man. As a kid, I grew up reading. Me and my dad watched documentaries, historical documentaries. We watched cartoons. We read novels. We read literature, and I just watched the Benicio del Toro Wolfman like for the first time like a couple weeks ago. I thought it was like a newer movie. It was like back in 2010 or something. I was like, oh my god! But I watched that and I just like I drew that because it kind of inspired me to do a Wolfman piece. But it was really great. And so yeah, that's where I'm pretty good when it comes to referencing or being inspired to do a certain thing because I just was constantly reading books and comics and watching shows and documentaries and so. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that was a commission. Hey, that guy had bought. Oh, that was a funny story. So I'm pretty good about keeping up with commissions. Lately, it's been harder because of COVID and trying to get out of the house and stuff like that. But normally, I'm pretty good at keeping everything in track in my brain. And if I have a lot, then I'll write it down and keep it by my desk. This dude slipped through the cracks. Like it went like 8 months without me doing it, and he was really nice about it. He messaged me. He was like, "Hey man, just wondering about my Daredevil piece." And I was like, "Holy crap!" Like. I forgot about it, dude. Let me upgrade you. I'll do 11 by 17. I'll draw extra character on there and everything. So he was really awesome about it. He said, "Oh, no worries, no worries." And so I've had tremendous people. I mean, everybody's been great, wanting to work with me, whether it just be private commission or publishing stuff. Everybody's been great. So much appreciated.
Yeah, and most people are pretty good for the most part. I mean, the thing is good art takes time. So, I mean, sometimes it happens where it falls through and you have an artist fall through and like at the last minute, you got to be like, "Hey, I need this piece and I need it done in like 2 weeks." Yeah. And it really sucks for the artist because the artist has to sit there and conceptualize what angle they want to do for the piece and crank it out there. But, if you give the artist 3-4 months and say, "Hey, I got this project. This is the deadline." Me back in February, I went through all the artists that I wanted and I'm like, "Hey, I got this coming up. I got this coming up." And I went through and I got the 10 yeses and I'm like, "Okay, who's available first?" And so I just went down the line and just kept asking who's available next. And it was really awesome because each piece really took shape the way the artist wanted to do it because they had the time to sit there and actually look at what angle they wanted to take on it. So, I mean, sometimes it's not a bad thing to have to wait on your art because you get the perfection that the artist wants to achieve with your piece. And sometimes you just don't get that when you're wanting like a piece like, "Hey, I got to have this in 2 weeks. I want it done." So I tend to leave everybody alone. I'm like, "Hey," they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know I was supposed to have this done 2 weeks ago." And I'm like, "No. Good art takes time, be patient, give the artist a chance to see it the way they want to visualize it and put it on paper."
Yeah, for sure, man. That's definitely a great point too. I mean, I think everybody has been considerate of me, but it's good to know that people do think like that because sometimes I feel like under the pressure of like, I promise like everything I do is with a purpose, whether it's just a sketch or a doodle, it's with a purpose to keep doing art, like that loggerhead sketch, that was just to do it. But it's with the purpose of me to like, hey, I have to draw today. I wasn't feeling fulfilled artistically. I have to do something. And you might post that and somebody might be like, "Holy crap, this dude hasn't finished my commission, but he's going to draw this doodle." You know what I mean? And it's like, but everybody's been understanding and it's good to hear that perspective from you because I felt like that's a good perspective to have as somebody who, whether they commissioned for their project or, just a private commission as well. So very cool.
Well, and yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you said, you'll commission a piece and somebody will be on there and they'll be putting up doodles and you're like, "Hey, that asshole's supposed to be working on my piece." But it's like, it's totally not, that's not how it is. It's just sometimes, when you go to do it and you're like, "I just don't like this. I need to think about it." Drawing something else helps to get to that. And doing some goofy doodle can get you there. So, that's something I want the audience to understand is if you ever see that and you're like, "Man, this dude, he's supposed to do this piece for me and I've seen him draw 5 doodles and I haven't even gotten a concept sketch." Maybe they're just trying to get the right angle.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hey Ed, what's going on? So we got Ed Williams in the house, and then we got Danny D. Thanks for joining. If there's pressure from a client, they likely just want to flip it anyways. People who are going to keep it are in no rush. Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely a point too. I've seen some covers that I've done, and then all of a sudden I see a live stream where this is a commission from, and that's just the reality of the business. I mean, you got a lot of people that deal with that nowadays, where they'll sell original art for $500, and the next thing you know, you see it on eBay for like $3,000 or whatever, and that's just part of being a illustrator. Is that's going to happen, and when I first started out, that was kind of like, oh man, come on, like you should want to hang it on my wall and build a shrine around it, and but in reality, that's not the case. Some people will buy it to flip it. Some people are just excited to get your work, man. They do want to just hang it in your wall and build a shrine, and I got a guy that buys like, I don't know, like how many pieces from me a month. I got a guy sitting in my queue, and he paid up front for like, I think like 20 commissions. He's like, whenever you want to finish it, I just want it graded and put up in my wall. I was like, holy crap, okay. Like, so and there are people like that. It sounds shocking to think, because maybe you're not at a point where you have high notoriety, but there are people that, man, they just love the hell out of you because your art's great, and they just love talking to you and love coming in your live stream, and that's you have to look at it that way, as opposed to like, everybody's just trying to flip my stuff, or and so just think positive about it, and it'll all turn out okay.
Well, and it's humbling too. You as an artist, you do a piece, and for somebody to think your art's good enough, first of all, that they're going to be able to flip it for a good amount of money, but then to see them actually flip it and get $500 for it, and then that person that paid $500 put it on eBay for $3,000 and say it goes for $2,200, which will rarely happen, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's humbling for you to go, wow, people really do like my art. So, I mean, it's not always necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you're still in work. You're doing work for somebody. If they make a profit off of it, they're helping get your name out there.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly. The last con that I went to before all this COVID happened, it was a little small con here locally, and I had people like, I just wanted to go try to like this year was my I was going all over the state. Like, I was going to go network, show my portfolio, like I'm getting work, and then COVID happened. I was like, crap. But the con that I started off was a small con, local in Texas, strictly for creators. There's no like celebrities or anything. It's all artists, and they have big people all the way down to independent and stuff. They I mean, I had so many people coming up and like wanting to slab my stuff, and like, are you Armando Ramirez? Yeah. And they're like, oh, can you sign this cover for me right here in a little taped out box, and I'm gonna get it slabbed. And I wasn't even thinking like if they were gonna sell it. I was like, holy crap, people are like seeking me out to get these covers graded, and they're like, how much do you charge? And I'm like, nothing, man. My signatures are free. Like, even for graded? I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't, wow, awesome, thanks. Oh, can we bring some more books? Yeah, dude, if you got 20 copies, bring them. I'll sign them. Like, I'm in no position right now to be like, I'm only doing 5 signatures. Like, so, and it's like you say, like, whether they were gonna flip it or not, those people came to seek me because they probably saw it somewhere else, or they saw somebody else grade it, or whether they were gonna get me plus the writers plus letters, whatever. That's still drawing people to my table, and people around the con saying like, oh, why has he got so many people there? Like, oh, he's signing something. What are they signing? And then also at that con, it was really random. Some kid came up to me and was like, can you sign this book? And handed me a Harley Quinn book. And I was like, what? Why? He was like, well, didn't you work on it? I was like, no, dude, I don't even know what this is. Like, I haven't even read this, Oh, some guy over there told me that he thought you did this cover. I mean, you just get a word of mouth, man. Like, and so, I was like, sorry, I can't sign it for you, but maybe you'll find somebody who worked on it. And that's the beauty of it, man. So
what's going on, Radar? Yeah, and you know it is, and it's great because oh, sorry, I just hit the table. You know, some people get upset about it, but you know, I think it's awesome. You know, when you meet some of the artists like you that are like, I'll sign as many books as you want because there are people out there like me that legitimately, you know, fangirl out over some of these indie creators. I really, honestly, truly love talking to you guys. I love hanging with you guys, getting on here and talking about art and showing off pieces and just, you know, shooting the crap with you guys because, you know, you don't normally get to do that at cons with a lot of creators. A lot of them will have a long line and
Yeah.
you get up there and they're like, okay, 5 book minimum. Here, what books do you want signed? Where do you want them signed at? You know, they want them out of the bag, ready to go. And so, to meet people like you at a table and to be able to walk up and be like, hey, man, I want to get these books signed. And be like, hey, you got anything else you want signed? You know, that's a really cool experience. And to be able to stand around and shoot the crap with you at a table, you know, that's the kind of people that the indie community are. You know, these big time Marvel and DC artists, a lot of them won't even give you the time of day.
And a lot of it,
And then you get some of them that are really cool, like Scotty Young. You know, I met Scotty Young at C2E2 last year. I had Little Man with me, and he was dressed as the Hulk. And Scotty Young got up from the table and was like, "Can I take a picture with him?" And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so he took a picture with my son and he gave my son a book and he's like, "Hey, what do you want signed?" And he signed the stuff for me and he talked to me for like 5 or 10 minutes. And he had like 150 people in line behind me. It was wrapped all the way down the aisle in Artist Alley. And the people had been standing there like we stood there in line for like 2 hours. And so it's the people like that that we need in this community that are going to take the time to talk to you because that's what it's all about. You know, if you can't
yeah,
be a personable person, then you know you could have the best art in the world, but nobody's going to want your stuff if they can't talk to you.
yeah,
And so that's a great.
and I think part of that is, man, because I didn't have the luxury of going to cons as kids. While I was engulfed in comics and I knew who these creators were, I didn't have the luxury of going. And there wasn't internet, so I didn't even know what these guys looked like. I just knew Larry Stroman, that's my dude. I don't even know what he looks like, but that's my dude, you know. And Bill, you know, Sienkiewicz, like that's my dude. Like I don't know what he looks like, but and so I didn't go to cons till later in life. But when I did, you know, the CGC stuff was popping and everything, and you hear all these horror stories. Man, I met a lot of creators, and I haven't not had one bad experience. And I think it's because with fans too, you have to go into that mindset of like, you know, these guys they were working in the industry when um, you know, they were doing pages for like $20 a page, or you know, Jim Lee was doing $20 11x17 commissions. You know what I mean? When nobody was like, "Oh, I don't want to get an Alpha Flight book. Like Alpha Flight's whack," you know. And now everybody will get anything signed by Jim Lee. You know, it's Jim Lee. So you know that kind of aspect they got to that because there will be a point one day where I won't have time to talk to everybody, and I probably will have like a 5 signature limit, and I probably will charge like $5 for 50 books, or whatever. But depending on where I am in my career, but that's just part of your journey as being, an illustrator. And and I think it just comes down to the point where it's such a heavily populated market now with indie creators, mainstream creators, everybody, that it's just kind of like either get it, either pay for it or you don't, kind of thing. There's a lot of artists that I would love to get a commission from, or I would love to get something signed, but you know I'm not paying Neil Adams $50 for a signature. But I love going to his table and I'll talk to him for an hour and he recognizes me at cons and we talk about comics and everything. But I'm not paying $50 for a signature because I can't afford that. But guess what? I still love his books. I still love talking to him. I still love his art. Like that's just the thing. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it. What did
Yeah.
somebody say? Oh, go ahead.
So Danny said, I met Jeff Deckel at a show with the kids, and he wouldn't even lift his head to talk to us. And he said he doesn't do commissions, won't ever buy his work, that's for sure.
Okay, so Jeff Deco, I've been following him since this dude emerged in comics, and if you ever look at how he does commissions, he literally has pre-show commissions, and you have to select certain characters. Like you can't just be like, I want Magneto. He'll give you a list of what you can select, and I think he puts a lot of time into his commissions now of what he wants to sell. As far as like interaction, I haven't met him personally. I've seen interviews. He seems kind of awkward. Like he might be a very reserved kind of artist. One of my favorite artists, Kerry Nord. I went and tried to talk to him, and he was kind of the same way, very like abrupt, and it didn't offend me. It was just kind of like, oh, maybe he doesn't want to talk now, and but he still kind of answered all my questions, and gave me his list pricings and stuff like that. But it wasn't a bad experience. But hopefully, maybe you can run into it, and maybe he's in a better mood next time, and get something.
Yeah, everybody has an off day here and there.
Yeah,
I've had it happen too. I like to wander around, so I always plan it out. So like Friday, I will go through and get all of my signatures. I map it out because
do that.
getting a witness is hard.
Me too.
Yeah, so Friday I'll map it out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit here. So I grab my CGC witness and I go through and I get all my signatures. That way I can get on-site grading because I don't like my stuff getting shipped. Yeah. I don't care how well they box that stuff. It could be in a metal container. It never fails. Something comes either banged up or one of the corners is broke or something. So I always do on-site grading if I get them signed in person. And so I'll do that on Friday. And then Saturday, I'll walk around Artist Alley and I will just like randomly walk up to people that have nobody at their table. And they'll be sitting there and then they'll be drawing something. And I'll just stand there and watch them for like 10 minutes. And then I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, your art's great. And I had quite a few that, that will talk to you and they're like, oh, hey, what do you like? And then you just start talking and they just keep working and, they're really cool. And then you get the people that are like, hey, I really like your art. And they don't even answer you. I had a guy at C2E2 that was like, he wouldn't even answer me. I was looking at the print book while I was watching him draw. And I was like, hey, I really like this. How much is it? And like, he wouldn't even answer me. I was like, cool. Obviously, you don't want to talk right now. Like, apparently, you feel it's creepy that I'm standing here watching you, so I'll just walk away.
Yeah, it's definitely it's true, man. I'm the kind of person like I try to talk to everybody, but sometimes I get people and they just talk about stuff I don't know anything about. Like, I have people come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, I like your art," and then do you like anime? And I'll be like, yeah, I kind of like. I've watched like one show, but I don't really watch it. And then they'll go talk on this tangent about stuff, and I don't know how to respond. I'm just like,
you're like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that awesome, man. That's great. So, do you like Spider-Man? Another character I like is blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool, like. But yeah, and I've had those experiences where I've been in line, beginning at a show, talk to artists. I love, because I've never had bad experience. So they'll talk to me for a good 10 minutes. And, I'm very respectful. I say, I'll swing by later, going to let another person, talk. But they're real responsive to me. Beginning of the show, they're, oh, yeah, talk to me. Next person comes in line, says the same thing. Like, I love your art. And they're just like, boom, cut off. Like, and I think it's just like kind of like any other kind of situation where, sometimes you just don't click. Your personalities don't click, or you don't mesh well with people, and that's okay, but I think that's a big part of it too. It's just maybe sometimes it's just not, that like if you would run into somebody at a store and try to talk to them, they, maybe your personalities wouldn't mix or whatever. That might be kind of the same thing. So.
Yeah, and you can't win them all. I mean, sometimes your personalities don't click, you don't mesh well. So, I mean, it happens.
For sure.
And everybody, like I said before, everybody has a bad day. But like Ed said, he said, if he's ever rude to anybody at a show, whoops, wrong one. And he said, if you ever hear somebody say I was rude to them at a con, you come to North Carolina and kick me straight in the ass. Ed's one of my friends. He's going to be, Ed was one of the very first ones I got to join Art Exposure. So I'm pretty excited after a little over 2 years working on them. Wednesday, live from here at Russ Explode Studios at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Ed will be drawing live for the first time. Super stoked about it.
I'm trying to tune in.
And he has great art. If you get a chance and you want to check it out at Ed's Artworks, it's Artworks with an X. He does phenomenal Harry Potter characters, and he's done a commission for me, and he actually did a piece for Xeno Nanite Titan. I can show you that. I got that on here. This was his piece for my book.
Wow, cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that, and that's what I love so much about this is making these connections with people. Now, what is the other thing that he said? He said, I know I'm still doing this as a hobby, but I always try to talk with every person that stops at my table.
Dude, so I think people have this misconception of, being established as being an artist, like, oh, this is my hobby, and you're not an artist or illustrator till you're established, or till, like, you're an artist, you're an illustrator, you do this, you might have another job, but this, if you have a passion for it, then that's your life, man. That's your job. So don't look at, I mean, keep grinding, keep pushing, always challenging yourself, yeah, but in your mindset, that don't, that's you, man. Own it. Doesn't matter your skill level or what you're working at, there's always room to advance and to be whatever your art turns into, flourishes to be. But you know own it. And I tell people all the time, I'm an artist illustrator. Well, don't you work another job? Yeah, but that's my second job. I say that's my second job, artist illustrator. Because the minute that I can afford to have health insurance and stuff without having that other job, then boom, that's gone. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
and so, and yeah, look at it. Be proud of your stuff. Go to con and say, yeah, I'm an artist illustrator. It's not just for a hobby. This is a living. It is a living. It's not just to make extra money. It's a living to do that. And so on that, and yeah, the fact that you're still awesome with people at the table, that's great, man. That's very awesome.
Well, see, he could no longer say that it's a hobby because actually last September, Ed had his very first published uh, variant for
Yeah,
Vengeance of Vampirella.
there you
So,
go.
and it was a store exclusive. So he is a published artist, not just a hobbyist.
There you
And
go, man.
now Ed will also be published in his very first novel come this fall. So, man, you can't say that you're a hobbyist anymore. I mean,
Exactly.
it's done and over with. You got a published comic book with your art on the cover, and now you're going to have a published book with your art in it. I mean, it's over. You can't say it's a hobby.
Hobbying is like, I don't know, building planes or Legos or something, man. Like, nobody's commissioning you to like build a Lego set. Like, that's the reality of it. So keep it up, man. I'll check out your stuff. I'll check out your stuff later.
So I wanted to go through and we'll show off some of your other artwork here. So,
Dude, that was super fun. I'm not a Star Wars fan by any means, but Darth Vader is like the coolest villain. Like, my wife, I'm a Trekkie. She's a Star Wars fan. And then Galen, he colored it. He colored that.
well, scrolled too far. There we go.
It's another DC one I submitted, which I don't know what's going on. I tuned into the fandom. It was pretty cool. It wasn't. They changed it up, I think, at the last minute, but oh, that was really cool. He's one of my favorite characters, Dead Man. And then that was another cover I did for Dark Ark. After the Flood, the second volume of the series, and that's written by Cullen Bunn, who's done work with like X-Men and all those kinds of books. And then artist Juan Doe, which is, that dude's phenomenal. His art is amazing. The interiors on there is great. But that was a fun cover too. I was really fortunate to get. And that's by Aftershock Comics. So thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. I like to think I have.
Yeah, Dark Ark is a really good series. I went and got some back issues of it here probably about 6 or 7 months ago and started reading that.
Nice.
So I don't have any of the After the Flood. Whoops, we already showed that one. For those that missed it earlier, this is Vampire State Building. So since we showed it, we'll talk about it a little bit. And then here was his other cover for Night is Falling.
Dude, so this piece, man, like, so when you're starting out as an illustrator, you kind of have to conform to certain types of styles because you're not going to get any work, because a lot of people look at this and be like, what is this he spilled on this paper, right? But one of my biggest influences growing up was Bill Sienkiewicz. I felt like he changed the game and how comics were portrayed, as far as, back in the day, everybody wanted to draw like Neil Adams, right? Neil Adams kind of set the precedence to, before then you had a lot of great, Gil Kane and all those guys, but Neil Adams kind of like gave more like anatomy and more muscle definition and different angles that he drew, and so everybody wanted to be Neil Adams. And then here comes Bill Sienkiewicz, who actually went to like art school and like had this total outlook on art, different like impressionist art and stuff like that. And he launched the New Mutants, and then he did Elektra, and those were like nothing anybody's ever seen before. Like, and that's kind of what spoke to me as far as like art, because I have a art background. My dad was an art major, and he was into a lot of Renaissance stuff and stuff. So that style right there, I would say, is more likely what I'm able to do. But although I like to do the more tight, very lines and stuff like that, that very chaotic, high energy pieces is what I would like to do. A book,
and it's definitely got some chaotic going on with it.
Yeah. But you can still tell, the hands. It's still got good composition and legs and stuff. And I think that's important when you're doing illustration, is you still have to understand that stuff. You still have to understand light source, composition, anatomy, things like that. So, but yeah, so maybe one day I'll be able to be like that and be able to do whatever I want, and people will win. That was a commission. That was pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
This piece is awesome.
Yeah, The Darkness. He was real big in the 90s, and I think they launched Mark Silvestri launched a Kickstarter to bring him back into existence, I guess.
Yeah, they did the Top Cow collected edition of The Darkness and the hardcover. I was gonna get in on it with everything that's happened this year. I couldn't afford it, but yeah, I was pretty stoked because I mean I liked the comic books growing up as a kid, and it was really cool to see that for the PlayStation 3 they did The Darkness. They did the video game, and then they released The Darkness too, and it was kind of a fun take on the series. But it's definitely The Darkness and Witchblade were definitely some iconic books from my childhood.
Right.
And then if you missed it, I don't think you were in here earlier, Radar, but here's his Vampirella piece that may or may not be published. Hopefully sometime soon it will be.
Yeah. Yes, hopefully. Dude, that's like one of my favorite pieces right there. That's metal AF, dude. So if you can kind of see the Dead Man and that have the same pose. So pretty much what happened was this was a commission for a friend here. She's a wonderful photographer, and her son is in a metal band, right? And she was like, "Hey, my son's in this band." It's so weird because she's very supportive of him. And when she approached me, she's very reserved, and she takes photos, and she goes to like, coffee houses and stuff. And she's like, "Hey, my son's in a metal band, and I like to, could you draw him a portrait of him?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me see it." And I'm thinking he's like this, like 16-year-old kid who's got his first guitar. She's like sending me like pictures of him on stage, and he's like kissed out, man, makeup. He's like shredding on his axe, and I was like, "This is phenomenal." I was like, "You go to these shows?" She's like, "Yeah, I love his music." I'm like, "Holy crap!" Like, this is out of art nowhere. But she's really supportive of the local art community. She's a wonderful photographer, a wonderful person. She's like, "Yeah, I'll draw this. Like, I'll paint him." So I painted that, and then I loved the pose that I did so much that I decided to implement it in that Dead Man because I felt kind of spoke to me that way too. So that was very fun. That was Jeepers Creepers for Inktober or /Tober, Inktober, whatever. One of my favorite kind of horror. I'm not into horror, but I like that. That movie was pretty scary, pretty creepy. The Guyver, yeah, dude. That's like one of the that's like the only anime I ever watched, and I didn't even know what anime. I didn't even know it was an anime. I just thought it was a different style, kind of cartoon when I watched it, and I remember my cousin put me onto it. I was like, "This is awesome!" And then they had the '90s movie with like Mark Hamill. That was super cheesy. I was like, "Oh my god, this is the Guyver." That was a fiction. So, yeah, I love that series and that anime. And I think there's a manga too. I gotta check out the manga. I don't know. I haven't really read too many of those, but.
So I know you mentioned a lot of your inspirations throughout the show, but there's a new question that I like to ask everybody. So I had drawn a piece a few weeks ago for my buddy that's in here now for his daughter, and I was super stoked. So like Ed's got this running joke. Whenever I did my Vampirella commission, I was at work and I told him what I wanted, and he's like, "Well, do you have an idea how you want it laid out?" So with the iPhone, when you turn it sideways, it brought up the draw board where you could use your finger and you could draw. So I drew stick figures. I drew like Dracula standing there, and then I drew he was laying there up against a stick figure rock with Vampirella as a stick figure standing over him with his heart in her hand.
Yeah.
And then there were stick figure trees and stick figure mountains and like a little freaking sun up there. And so that's been the running joke, my stick figure commissions. Because I'm like, trying to draw with your finger on a small phone. Because of course I didn't have the 8 Plus then. I had the smaller one. I think I had the 6. I didn't have the 6 Plus. And so I was like trying to use my pinky and I didn't have a stylus. So I'm like, this looks like crap. So I drew this piece and I was really super stoked about it. I mean, I was like, man, this is phenomenal. I can't believe that I drew this. And so I was like, man, I'm so proud of this. I don't even want to send it out. So, not that I would keep it, but my question that I'd like to ask, the artist is, have you ever drawn a piece or done a commission that you've been like so proud of and so fell so in love with it that you had a hard time letting go of it?
No, not really. I think for me, because I'm constantly working on stuff, it's not, I don't look at it that way. I feel very prideful and powerful after I complete a piece, but not to where like, man, I don't, I hate this one and I hate to let it go. But I feel very happy that I've done that and stuff. The big thing with me is I'll start on a piece, and if I don't finish it, it'll eat at the back of my brain for like until I finish it. Like, like I'll be doodling something. Oh, this looks like a cool sketch, and I'll kind of lay it out more, and it becomes more tighter and more cleaner. And then I'm like, I have to work on this later. I got to get back to this. And then literally in the back of my brain, it's like, work on that piece, or add this to it, or do this. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, let me pull it back out now. Let me finish it real quick. And then,
do a limited print, maybe.
But, yeah, that's a good idea. You could do a limited print or something. Yeah.
Oh, it's gone already. I sent it off. This was the piece here.
Oh, nice. I like that hair, man. He looks very.
And I'm not trying to be an artist. I don't claim to be an artist. I like to draw for fun and I do the stuff. But I was like super proud of this. I'm like, holy crap, this is like really good. I fell in love with it. I'm like, I don't want to let it go because like usually I do funny stuff. Like this is my making fun of Steph Wilson. So it's his Steph Pool as naughty fairy stripper assassin with the skirt on riding a stick unicorn.
That's hilarious. Dude, I think it's totally fine to like have a preference of what you like. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. And even me, man, I'm very critical too. Some of the stuff that gets put out, I'm like, why? Like, why are people buying it? But people like it, man. And who am I to tell, people what they like? It's like saying, like, why do you like that pizza? Or why do you like that kind of drink? Or why do you like, that movie? Like, dude, just let people do what they want to do. Like what they want to like. Your journey is your own. Do it. If you're meant to be an illustrator, comics, gallery artist, whatever, it'll happen. Like, stuff
cool. All right, man. Well, it was cool talking with you, man. I really appreciate you being on here tonight. I look forward to seeing what other pieces you have coming out down the line.
Yeah, sure.
We talked about your project that you have coming out. Hopefully in the next few years, you guys can crank that out where you have the crossovers between the universes. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, man. It's all going to be definitely, it's all under one big umbrella, man. It's one story, one big same world, all that. So it'll be interested. You can see updates on my Instagram and Waco or Plus Waco Comics at Plus Waco Comics and at Joey Gonzalez and at Imaginary Heroics. That's Danny. And check out his stuff. He's pretty talented dude. If he posts, sometimes he posts, sometimes he doesn't. But Yeah, go check out all that stuff, man. And if I'm pretty open, man. If anybody has questions or just want to talk, or I know that times have been hard during this COVID, and it's hard to reach out. But yeah, if you just want to hit me up and ask about art or ask about anything, really, I'll try to respond as best as I can. But um, yeah, the DM, my commissions end at the end of the month, so if you want to get a private commission, that's the best time to get on it now. But if you have want to do published work or whatever, you can just hit me up anytime. I'm open for that all the time. So really appreciate you having me on here and getting to talk with you and stuff.
Yeah, and no, I definitely I would be interested to have you do a piece for one of my upcoming books.
Yeah.
The pieces are done for book one. I'm going to keep a few of the artists for book two. And I mean, definitely Ed, because Ed was an integral part. He helped me. Because back then, my stick figure art, I couldn't really be like, hey, this is what my character looks like when I get all the pieces commissioned. So, this is, where did it go? Is right. So this was the base piece that I used when I got everybody's commission. So
Yeah.
I basically was like, hey, so here's my character. Here's what he looks like. This is what his powers and his suit and blah blah blah. Gave him the whole rundown. And that, I was like, I want Ed sat down and did what I wanted to do. I told him what I wanted. I showed him reference pictures, and this is kind of like the baseline of what my character looks like. I finally have decided that I'm going to do my own baseline and actually draw it the way I imagine it. Because no matter how much you direct somebody, nothing against Ed and what he did, it's still not going to be like 100% what I have in my mind. And he did a really good job of portraying it. But it was really cool to work with each one of the artists and say, this is what my character baseline looks like, but I want you to draw based on by my description, your interpretation of it. So this was another interpretation by Jason So.
Yeah.
And then we got Finney the Great.
Nice.
And then Steph Wilson.
Noise.
And David Fought. And so each piece, with it being a novel, not a lot of people are going to, everybody's going to have their own interpretation in their head. So that was what I thought was cool about commissioning the artist was, hey, do your interpretation, because, somebody can be like, oh, what I thought he looked like was this, or what I thought he looked like was that, or maybe they have their own interpretation. So, and then I got Wendy Steen Shaner.
Nice.
And then CB Zane.
Nice.
And then Chris McJunkin. I don't have Eve's piece loaded up yet, so Evanette did a piece for me as well.
Cool.
You'll have to check it out. It's on my the Russ Explode page. I think it's pinned to the top. It's the one with the wyvern. I almost slipped up and said his name. I have sworn to secrecy that I will not release his name, and I almost just said it.
Okay, I was infiltrating you the whole time, man. Now that I have it. No, man, that's awesome. So that's part of working with as being a creator too. Like, especially if you're doing this as a job, you have to understand and look at it that way. It's not like if somebody hires you to do a book and a character and they say, okay, this is how I want it to be done. You have to go into thinking that you're not just going to be able to draw what you want to draw. If you were to get hired to do a Spider-Man book, they're not gonna let you draw whatever kind of suit you want to draw. You're not gonna be able to put him in a green lime suit with yellow under. Like, you're not gonna be able to do that. So like how we work too with our team is like, Joey will be like, hey man, like he draws stick figures too all the time. Hit me up. Hey, what about this? What about this? And I'll say, man, that might work. Let me see if I can do a design. Do a design, send it over. Man, I was thinking it. Can you do it this way? And like. I'm not going to get it. Oh, no, you didn't like. No, that's cool. Let me try it this way. The same with Danny. Danny does most of our concept kind of pin art because he has a lot of the time and has a background in design work. So he does a lot of the design. And it's the same thing. He'll draw this and then, we'll say, hey, well, what about this? And he'll be like, you're right. Maybe I'll do it this way. Or he'll give a reason of why he did that. And then we come to a terms. But you might have to draw the same character over 50 times before you come down to a solid design. And that's part of being if you're going to work on a project that's supposed to be out in the public, that's supposed to be concrete, because this image is meant to, like you said, be, stay. It's supposed to be that image, it's supposed to be there. That's the concrete image. Like, and so you said that while there's a main image, people will use it because you're doing a novel. People will use their imagination and stuff. But how you envision it is once you want concrete, is what if it get picked up by a movie deal or a TV show, you want it to be represented how it is intended. You know what I mean?
To be
You want,
represented.
and a lot of people say like, well, why, McFarlane, like, oh, he's just popular because he got into baseball and toys and this and it's like, no, man, because he didn't let anybody change his idea. He didn't let anybody, he said, well, this isn't for me, I'm going to go this direction and do it. He wasn't being complicated, or was it? That's the design he wanted, what he wants, and that's what he's going to get. And that's how you have to look at your characters if you want that character to be concrete. So that's a good point you made about that. But yeah, just keep at it, man. Just keep working and
yeah. And my long-term goal with this is, I'm going to write the book one is done. It's at the editor. So book one is more or less the origin story of my character.
Yeah.
And the book two will go into more of the story of when he actually becomes Xeno Titan. And book three will kind of finish out that particular story. So I intend for once the trilogy is done to move it to a comic book format and get on board with an artist or somebody and actually start a monthly comic for Xeno Titan. And that's what my long-term goal is. I want to kind of dabble a little bit in both worlds because I like creative writing. I like writing books, but I also love the comic book world. And I think this character fits well in both. So you can read the novel and get the backstory for the character and why he became who he was. And then you can follow him in the comic books on all of his adventures, and I think it'd be really cool.
And also, man, like if you want to, man, be the next Frank Frazetta, man. This dude reinvented Conan. Like before then, he was a newspaper strip, and he was like this goofy Prince Valiant looking dude with like a cape and like dainty. And then Frazetta painted him this barbarian, gnarly looking dude on book jackets. People didn't even care about the novels, man. They just wanted the cover jackets. You know what I mean? They just wanted the books. Eventually, he started reading it, and then he got work for just So I mean, and he kind of got people into reading back again and stuff and reading novels. You might be that way, dude. You might not even have to jump into comics because people will be like, I want to read this novel. It's so great. Let's put it in a movie. Let's put it in a TV show, and then later you want to animate it or put it, that could work too. But it'll be one of those, what is it, movie adaptation comics? Like what are they adapting movie? No, it was originally a book actually. So you never know, man.
Yeah.
Be that next
and it's awesome writing the book because it plays out like a movie in my head. And I'm like, this could so totally be an awesome movie. And I'm super stoked because book one's really good. I really believe in book one a lot, wholeheartedly. The story's there, and I love it because. Sorry, I know we're going off on a tangent here, but my big thing about reading books and comics and watching movies is I hate predictability. I want to have my mind just blown. I want to be like, this is what's going to happen. I can see it happening. And then like the least thing that you would expect to happen happens. And then you're just like blown away. And it's like, what the? So when I wrote this book, I shared it with a few people from up to a certain point of the book. And so this will tie into what we'll show Wendy's piece in a minute, Ed. Yeah. So he was wanting me to talk about Wendy's piece. It's kind of funny. So Wendy had read it up to this point. And she's like, she messages me and she's like, I think I know what's going to happen. And so that's the worst thing any creator ever will hear in their life is I think I know what's going to happen. And so I'm like, well, what's going to happen? And she's like, well, it's too much to type. I'm like, no, you let the cat out of the bag. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah. And she's like, no, the cat ran away. So I was like, and so we had a live show that night. We were going to be doing CromCon, and Wendy was going to be on the panel with me. It was Tom Hutchison and Luis Torres and a bunch of creators were on with me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm supposed to be sending the StreamYard link. I'm going to send her a private StreamYard link. And so I sent it to her and she joined in and it was just me. And I'm like, ha, I caught the cat. Now tell me if it's too much to type. Now you can just tell me.
It's
She looked like a deer in the headlights. And I was like, you're not getting out of it. I have to know. So she told me and I was like, you're right, but you're wrong. And I loved it. And she's like, you're so evil. And I'm like, I'm not evil. It's just like I was really bummed that to hear that you think you knew it was going to happen, and I was really relieved to know that you're totally wrong. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's encouraging, man. Yeah, you're totally putting what is it, Martin, kind of like what he did, Game of Thrones. He didn't finish the book, and just letting people thinking what they want to think, and then you'll be the better version of it. You'll have the better outcome.
And so it was really funny whenever I started talking to her about doing a piece. So for a long time, I did blasting. So I did mining engineering with explosives emphasis is what I went to school for. And so I did a lot of blasting and blowing stuff up because I love explosions, hence Russ Explode Studios. And
yeah.
And so, ever since that's been my tag name for my gaming and everything, Russ Explode since like 1990. I don't even know, 8 maybe. Yeah. So it's like 22 years I've been carrying the tagline Russ Explode. So whenever I went to start the studio, I'm like, you know what? I'm going with it. I've had this for so long. I already have every single thing out there, Twitter, Instagram, and all the email addresses. I'm like, everything's already Russ Explode. So I can make it easy and just be like Russ Explode Studios and turn everything into a business account. And so I get with Wendy and, I find out through doing this piece with her that she loves explosions too. And so when we worked on this piece together, she sent it over to me and she's like, all right, so I added a few explosions in the background. What do you think? I'm like, I really like it, but we can add a little bit more explosions to it. I'm like, we can make it a little more dramatic. She's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, dude, just fill the whole thing up. I wanted to just shit be blowing up all over it. So she was super excited. So I get this piece back, and I mean, there's just like all these explosions going on in the background. You got this tank back here with the top of it getting blown off. And she's like, I love the way it turned out. There's so many explosions. So it was really cool.
Cool, man. That's a great piece. They were all great. Everything you showed me was awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Everybody did a great job with it. So I definitely would love to have you on a piece. We'll have to talk, later on down the road once I get this Kickstarter rolled out this fall for book 1. I definitely want to start building a list. So
yeah, for sure, man. When like I said, anything you want to, talk about, or I'm down. I'm down to do whatever if time permits and my, time frame and what I'm working on and stuff. So pretty open, pretty easy to work with for anybody out there who wants to collaborate or, and I've even opened up to other artists like, hey man, do you want to do a jam piece or like ink my stuff, whatever you want to do, make prints, like it's cool. This COVID stuff sucks and there's no cons. And the only way to get through it is to just kind of like, interact with people, interact with other creative people. Maybe in another circumstance, I would be more like shut off, like, oh, I'm gonna charge if you want to do this, but now this is kind of like our only outlet to be in touch with, fans and people and stuff like that. So, hit me up. I might say no, but that's the worst. I'm not gonna hate you for it. I'm not gonna say you're disrespecting my art or you're disrespecting my craft. The worst, I'd say no, I can't do it right now. Maybe another time, or so.
Hey, you know what? It could always be worse. It could be like Dawn McTeague. I asked her, I was like, hey, what kind of timeline is it to get a piece? And she's like, I'm about 2 years behind on my commission list. I'm like, so maybe I can book for like book 7.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm getting at now. And it's not because I can't finish stuff. I'm pretty quick, man. Like this week, I think I knocked out like 15 commissions in like 4 days. And, but the thing is just time and me wanting to decompress and spend time with my wife and working this other job and we figure out our future and what's going on with this COVID stuff. So it's just a matter of time. But ideally, I mean, it's looking that way for a lot of artists, and that's fine. I mean, I know people got 5-year waiting lists, or people who are just like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Whenever you get it, you get it. Like, that's a risk you have to play. And that's the reality of it, and that's going to be kind of like, that's why I had to make this decision to cut off my commissions, because I was going to be like, okay, I'm going to keep taking commissions, but you're just going to get whenever you're going to get it. But I thought that was a little bit too much for, I don't know what's going to happen with me working on these pages and what's not. So I just said, you know what, I'm cutting off my list, and then I'll still have stuff for sale if I do something on the side or something. But as far as like, I don't think I could tell somebody like, well, you'll just get it whenever I finish. You know what I mean? And because I'm like I said, I communicate well with, like, if people ask for updates. I don't have anything to hide. So I haven't gotten to it yet, man. I'm sorry. Like, I know I told you 2 weeks, but it's week 4, and I haven't done it. I'll try my best to do it. Like, I'm very responsive in that aspect, but at the same time, yeah, it's kind of rough to tell somebody, you'll get it whenever I finish it. So I made that decision to just, like, you know what, I'm just gonna shut it down just for a while. Might not even be that long. It might just be till I can, get in a groove. And then I'll open it back up again. But
Well, very cool, man. Well, it was great having you on, and it was cool chatting with you.
yeah,
You definitely
for sure.
have phenomenal work. And for
Yeah.
everybody out there, give Armando a look. Check out his page. He's got a ton of art uploaded to his Facebook page. So definitely go over and give him a look. Check out his Instagram, and keep a lookout for Lawless.
Yeah, Lawbringer and
Or Lawbringer, yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Lawbringer. So what we're doing, there's a Bronze Man, Lawbringer, Lady Avalon. I'll drop all those titles because we're already talking about it on our Facebook. And then we've got other stuff, man. Black Toro, all these characters that were within these stories. We have these stories that we're going to launch with characters, and eventually, because we're starting our publishing company, man. So this is going to be exciting because down the road, we're going to open up for submissions, man. So if you artists, you want to submit to be on a book, to do interiors, you have an idea you want to submit, writers. I mean, this is, down the line, of course, but we're going to be open to that because we felt that us being at a certain skill set, us getting a lot of rejections was kind of like, man, like, we just need to start our own stuff. Like, if we have the skill set to be on some of these books, but they're not, we want to have a place where we feel like we're validated, and where other artists feel like they're validated for their skill set too. So, we'll be hosting submissions and all that stuff for later and things like that. But yeah, man, that's our plans for it, and hopefully it works out great. And I've got some other covers that are coming out for some other Kickstarters, but COVID's kind of delayed it. So I think I've got like 3 other covers that are going to come out and drop. But of course, I'll post those when they pop up and stuff. So, but yeah, man, thanks for
Yeah, I know
everything.
how those Kickstarters are. You can't really talk about them a whole lot until you get the go ahead.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, tell me, I'll blast it. I'll post everywhere, But
It's like, I'm
yeah,
ready to
man.
rock. When are we going to drop this?
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Well, cool. Thanks a lot for being on here. If you want to stick around for a few minutes in the green room, I'll be back there in a few minutes. If you want to give a last shout out where everybody can find you.
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys can find me at Armando Ramirez _art on Instagram. You can find some of my stuff at Plus Waco Comics, at Joey Gonzalez on Instagram, at Imaginary Heroics. Those are the guys that I'm working with too on this. On Facebook, Armando Ramirez. I have a Twitter. I don't know what it is. It's like Mondo Ram 21. You can search my Twitter. I don't know how to operate Twitter. I just post stuff on there. Twitch, Ramirez the Barbarian. I'm thinking about doing some live streams on there. But yeah, man, just look out for some stuff in the future, and feel free to contact me and stuff from there. But thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, have a good night.
You too, bud. Peace.
Peace. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up tonight. We had a great show with Armando. Showed off some really sweet art. Armando's got a great art skill set for doing the horror pieces. He's got a lot of good comic art too. So if you guys are looking for somebody to do some commission work for you, definitely hit him up. As he said, he has a personal commission list. It is only open for a little while longer. So if there's something in particular you're wanting, get a hold of him as soon as possible. And if you're wanting something professionally, he is pretty much always available as long as time permits it. So definitely hit him up for that. Um, Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great night, and Russ Explode Studios.